spirit of matter. And I'm especially jovial today because I'm gonna make a different kind of mood episode. Um, Honoring this Venus retrograde in Leo. It's a Mercury night here. Let's see what the hour is. So this is a Mercury night with the moon hour. Where's the moon? What's the moon doing? Oh, the moon is approaching heaven. It's a 23 degrees Sagittarius. Jupiter ruled with Jupiter in the fourth house. And the ascendant is ruled by a retrograde Saturn in Pisces. Midheaven in Sagittarius, 7 degrees. Venus in 27 degrees retrograde in Leo, and Mercury ingressed into Virgo 1 degree already. So that's about it. That's for the chart. And now let's talk about the episode. So I was just catching back with some local astrology groups, and we had a really, popcorn. It was a popcorn night. So one lady brings in a chart. She brings in 3 charts, and I'm not going to show you the charts, of course, but the question was like this. It was 1 man and 2 women, and she said, which of the women is more fit to this man? Okay. And unlike the way I would usually scroll the drama, I kind of felt like, oh, it's kind of like a nice play, and I kind of felt like looking into it. And so as I was looking into it, I was seeing patterns. I'm not going to say the patterns there, but it was just kind of funny, and I felt like I want to do an episode. And what I want to extract out of this jovial relationship drama is, how do you center on your chart in order to get somewhere regarding relationships? Because for that example, basically the man had a Venus in problematic relationship with Saturn. Okay, we didn't have ascendant for him, and trine Neptune, and something like that. And so one of the women had both of these women. One of the women had actually Venus in trine with Saturn, okay, and the other one had Venus in hard aspect, square in Saturn, near the in conjunct. But the one that was trining, she had the Venus the horns, in Aries. Okay, so considering fallen Venus, and you just saw how this one person that has an issue with his Venus, which is the spouse traditionally for a cisgender man that wants a woman, and he had an issue. The issue that he had, he would tend to draw certain women in his life based on his chart. So one of them would have this issue, but that fixed, and the other one would have that issue, but that fixed. Okay. And you can guess, of course, that the woman that had ascendant in Aries with Venus in Aries is actually more likely to have a breakthrough in relationships, because she's going to be more alone, but because the ruler of the 7th is in the 1st, she's going to have a breakthrough around relationships. She can actually get into a relationship as an Aries ascendant, one of the only, because the ruler of the 7th is with the 1st house. But what I want to show to you is basically, how do you look at the natal chart of a person, one person, and understand what type of relationship drama are they going to attract, and what can you do about it? Because if you would come to me now with Venus Leo, you wouldn't. I'm not appointable. But I was actually considering, should I make some money? And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like doing that in that way right now. But the thing is, if you came to me for a reading, then you would come to me with this drama, okay, around relationship. Is this person more fit to me? Is that person more fit to me? Are we going to have something? And it's usually relying on the other person, okay? It's not impossible to look at the synastry, but if you come to me, I want to give you the best thing that I can give you, and this is look at your chart. What can you do for your chart? And I had a client actually that I did that with her. And so the only reason she would bring another chart in, of course, with the consent of the people that were involved. And by the way, the only time I would accept a person who did not consent, who did not give me a chart of a consenting person is, let's say, if my client is obsessed with someone and they got the other person's chart, I would use that to show them like what is the lesson there, and kind of like satisfy the obsession by and allowing my client to let go of the other person. So on the scales, I prefer to read into that chart that I got without consent, sozusagen, so that my client will see that, hey, yeah, like it's not working. Like this is why you're into them, but it's not working. You wouldn't need to be bringing me a chart. And sometimes it's easier when I do satisfy this need than if I just told them, I'm not going to read that chart, and they'll just go to another astrologer and get all kinds of weird stuff that may give them hopes and may put the other person in like stress. Okay, so that is the thing. Basically, how do you look at the chart of a person? Okay, now I'm not going to bring you a chart of actual people. I can use this chart as like the chart of the event, but I want to show you a concrete example of somebody that I do know, which is me, and then I can do the chart of the event and show you like another example, and say, how would you do that? So here is a chart which happens to be mine, so it's okay to use. And this is a chart of a person who is, well, the questions, chart of a person, and this person, me, is into men, probably, I don't, like, whatever. So, what I would look at first thing, let's say this person wants to see, how can I be happy in a relationship? Can I be happy in a relationship? Okay, and this chart is a bit gloomy, okay? But I want you to also see those things and understand them so that you wouldn't have to go to a million charts and get a million readings from astrology. We make a lot of money out of it, but you know, I want to give you the best value that you can receive, and this is your one chart. So the ruler of the seventh. Here the ruler of the seventh is Mercury, which is the ruler of the night. Right now it's Mercury night, so of course I get all this relationship drama. Where is Mercury? Mercury is in Aries. And you can see this Mercury, ruler of the seventh. You need to know rulership for that. Is in the second. Now what, just when you see ruler of the seventh in the second, what is the seventh? What is the second? Seventh is partnership, marriage, blah, 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 what we would look for a long-term commitment. Second is value, possessions, value, possessions, skills. Okay? So when it comes to, for example, giving astrological readings, I can give small relationship readings. What I made my money of was giving composite readings of outer planets to inner planets, and it was small products that I was selling in an accessible price. Okay, so kind of penetrating the market, which is very Aries, kind of blue ocean. People who haven't tried this, who haven't seen this, and having an on-the-spot reading, and for composite you don't need a sentence for most things. So that was useful for that. But what about relationship? Okay, what do you think about the person that the ruler of the seventh, okay, the ruler of the partner, is in a house of possessions? It's not good, huh? It's not good. Our partner is not somebody who belongs to us like possession, okay? Nor do we belong to them like possession. Okay, so you see, one thing, the first thing this person will have to deal with is find an innovative solution to the problem that either them or their partner tend to see a relationship as something that the value of the self or even the sense of self, because it's Aries, is very impacted by. Okay, so like relationship becomes your self-value, which is very unhealthy, right? We want to have a self-value that is independent of relationships. So this person, which happens to be me, would have to value themselves outside of what they own, who they're with, or what they can do, which is Aries, right? And make sure that the other person is on the same, like on the same page. Okay, the way I dealt and am dealing with that is try to deal with that was trying to see my own possessions as choosing to be with me. It had a lot of pros and cons. I went through a thrill there, which I will soon touch on. And I was just like, whew, this is overwhelming. I did not find the right solution yet. Okay? So immediately you see that when this person tends to this issue and solves this problem, okay, now they are at the breakthrough at their lives in terms of relationships, which I'm very much scheduled to do because I'm going to have Rahu with Mercury and Aries in Aries on the eclipses in my second house. So I'm very likely I'm scheduled to have a completely different, refreshing point of view about relationships in general. Okay, so what else do you see about this ruler is that it also rules the fourth house. Now, there are many things. The fourth house, what is the fourth house? The fourth house is the house you build together, so it's also housing, which is yet another problem. Fourth house is also death. Okay? And so the same person who is your partner is also a person that is associated with your death, which can get very creepy. And I am a survivor of such a story in the family that there was surviving of the risk of a partner being a threat to the life. Okay, and I've also unfortunately had several things that are reminders of this in my life. It's not something to take lightly. Okay, I don't have a solution for this, but immediately you see that this is something that I bring to the table. The ruler of my seventh house is the ruler of the fourth. It means that this person can then see a partner as a home. They have their home associated with the partner. Okay, so even if they live separately, there still is some sort of connection. They can own real estate with their partner. Okay, or they can be in business with their partner. So all of these things kind of give way, even before we got to Pluto, way too much power to relationship in the life of the native. Okay, what are the good stuff? Before I get there, what are the good stuff? Well, the ruler of the seventh is Mercury, which is very adaptable, it's very skillful, it's about communication, even though we have Chiron in Gemini here, which kind of makes communication more difficult, but also Aries is a sign of innovation. Okay, when life gives you an ultimatum, you create a third option. And so the potential is for this person to be able to have these innovative new breakthroughs in relationships, whether in their own lives or as a skill, that they're skilled to see a breakthrough in relationship, which in many cases I have been in my life doing that, whether paid or not, for a lot of people, which was incredibly annoying but this is the Chiron wounds. Like you help other people, but for yourself it's like, you know. And so the good thing is like this person can absolutely see a breakthrough or this person and their partner can create something new. Also in the field of housing or tending to the dead, okay, like graves or something, like a graveyard or something like that. But they can have like new housing solutions, real estate that is innovative, making a land that is not fertile areas into a fertile land. So if they're much better off building something completely anew, because it's Aries is starting something completely anew. But it can be doing that because this Mercury here is opposing Pluto. They can be doing that with recycled stuff. Okay, so taking like something that was trash and making a home from the place, from that thing, and that's just what this chart is bringing to the table. Okay, another thing that we look at, so we looked at the ruler of the seventh. The opposition here to Pluto brings an outer planet. This means that the personal challenges that this native has with communication, the way that they think, their opinions, their beliefs, their relationship, their housing, their upbringing, and their death to a certain degree, also is a part of a timeline of the spirit of the times. Okay, the personal is the political in a very intimate way, from cradle to grave here, like, because this Venus that rules the eight is also opposite. It's like from cradle to grave, everything that this person's life has to do with intimately is political. Simply put, is political. They are a part of the spirit of the times. And so this means that this person's relationship will either have something that the beginning is secret but then is exposed. This is Pluto. Pluto is not just secrets and hidden things. Pluto is composed rejuvenation, okay, transformation. It doesn't stay hidden for long, okay? So they can have a very public hidden life, which I do. And it means that they can have secret relationships or a secret marriage that suddenly are being exposed or composted. Okay, this can mean that this person's going to have relationship going through transformation, and then if it's one relationship, it's going to go through a lot of transformations, and if it is not one relationship, then there can be a transforming and a changing of the housing and the connection as well. And an entire, like, very overwhelming relationships. Okay, this is not for the light-hearted. So this is the ruler of the seventh. Okay, what else do we have here? Oh, this ruler is also trining Neptune. So this person wants relationships that are spiritual, that are uplifting. Okay, it's actually a person who's looking for a bit of an escape, who's looking for a vacay in a relationship or a psychedelic experience, a spiritual experience, something very uplifting. And this Neptune is actually the place of resolution, but this Neptune is not only retrograde but also in Saturn's sign, so it's kind of escaping into the reality. Okay, very weird. Another thing that we look at, so if this was, let's say, a man's chart, we would look at Venus, and Venus here is ruling the 8th house and is ruling the 3rd house. She's in the 3rd house, so Venus is in Taurus. Venus is at home in Taurus. She's ruling Taurus and Libra. And this Venus kind of conjunct this Mercury, separating. She's separating from an opposition to Pluto. So again, very political relationships, issues with power, with finances. This is a person that through intimate relationships or even sexual relationships, because Pluto is very sexual, also Neptune, by the way, and through these intimate relationships, they're going to get at the nitty-gritties of finances, and they're gonna have transformation around their values, okay, especially their material values. So it's a person that um, the issue, like the spirit of the time, the financial situation of the time, the physical situation of the time, literally affects their ability to enjoy sensuality with their partner. Okay, if this was a man, also for a woman, Venus is, I can attest that this is true. Um, but that would mean that this man would draw certain relationships or where um, both partners play a certain something that plays out in the spirit of the times regarding power and sensuality, in various ways. And it's going to be like transformative, changing of the values. And unfortunately, because it is an opposition, then there can be a crisis here. What Venus trines is this Neptune. She's also separating from Neptune trine. And so, again, there is the ability to see the spiritual, whatnot, effective things, or see, or a spiritual point of view or experience can mitigate or can facilitate this change that is happening, and somehow the refuge here is through Neptune, and sometimes it is through loss. Okay, Neptune is loss as well, and so there can be some loss in here in the 11th is of social groups, or something is some loss that is not necessarily a bad loss. It can be a loss that is actually a gain. Okay? It can also create for you lose the relationship, and with that you lose a certain social circle, but you kind of open up to a whole new spiritual experience and a new social group coming in. So that can be the case, or new goals and dreams in life change with the relationship. So that is the Venus. And for a woman's chart, we also look at Jupiter. Okay, so if you have like a person who is man and woman, you look at Venus and at Jupiter, and you comprise the thing together. Jupiter here is in the 11th house, 12 degrees Capricorn. He's ruled by Saturn, and Saturn is retrograde in the 9th house of Scorpio. Saturn is very strong, but this is also a nocturnal chart, which is yet another thing that you can look at, you cannot look at. But if you're a bit more advanced, you also see the sun is below the horizon between the ascendant and the descendant. So downstairs, it means it's a moon chart, and so the more difficult planet is Saturn. Okay, this means that in general, for a night chart, if the more difficult planet is Saturn, and Saturn rules commitment, yeah, anything commitment is commitment, responsibility, routine, dedication, all those things they change, because Saturn here is not a part of the sect. Okay, it's the more problematic, more difficult to energy to cope. It's not irresolvable. It's just not as approachable. For a day chart, it is Mars. So accidents, fights, conflicts, severing ties, that more of that, like Saturn's like decay. And so this Jupiter is fallen, okay, and is ruled by Saturn in Capricorn. This means that this woman tends to bring in a certain partner that has something gloomy about it. Okay, it's very Saturnian. This Saturn is actually very strong. Okay, it's Saturn in Scorpio. He is a strong person, but he's not the most jovial person. Okay, is a person that's very occupied with either debt, climbing up the ladder, or the type of teachings that are restrictive, historical, or even orthodox. And Jupiter here is retrograde, so this person, this chart, regardless of who they are with, are going to have to do something about this Jupiter. Okay, this person, and not only that, their ascendant in midheaven is ruled by Jupiter, and this Jupiter is fallen, so they must remedy this Jupiter. So working with talismans with Jupiter in Pisces, talismans with Jupiter in Sagittarius, that can bring more uplifting okay? As well as honoring, finding a way to honor Saturn, whether through agriculture, growing things, honoring nature, being in the mountains, or traveling to an area where there are mountains. Um, and indeed, I found that, for example, growing garlic is something that I like doing. It does entail a lot of grief, but it's something that kind of helps me in growth. So this is what this chart brings to the table. What's this Jupiter doing? It is sextile in Saturn, which tells us that even though there is a doom and gloom, there is also some ability to deal with that. Okay, this is a person that grief is a part of their that is a part of their life, but they have a certain approach that is between stoic and optimistic towards death. Okay, and Jupiter is trining the Sun, so creating here a mystic rectangle with the Sun and the Moon. Okay. So we looked at the ruler of the seventh, we looked at Venus, and we looked at Jupiter. All of them were gloomy. Okay. And indeed, the native, this is me, I'm 39 years old and single. Okay. So this is one chart. And then some people look at Mars. Mars here is on the 22nd degree in the ninth house. This kind of means that when this person is either studying higher studies, doing some religious, going to, like this person can meet a person they can get it on with in a religious place, with this Mars retrograde. Mars on the 22nd degree, this person can be meeting with a person who has killed people, maybe military person, because 22nd is to kill or be killed. So this person is doing something that can get them to be assassinated or something like that. But unfortunately, it means that for a good relationship, especially when the ruler of the seventh is Mars ruled, this person has to do their Mars. Okay, so they have to do their Mars in Scorpio. And this would mean that they would have to turn to Mars in Scorpio, remedy to Mars in Scorpio direct talismanic work, and practice their Scorpionic Mars themselves so that they can have more equity in relationship and the deep and transformation and connection that they need. But this Mars is in 22nd degree of Scorpio, while it is in the Jupiter face or decan of Scorpio. So this person is very likely to desire to choose the light. So even if this person holds a weapon, they're doing so whether to protect the motherland, which is trying to the moon, or in a way that is meant to do right. Okay, they're doing that to do right. They're not doing that to do wrong. But still, as you can see, it's a very potent Mars. It's a very strong Mars. It is also retrograde, so it's a very reflective Mars. It means that this person has difficulty to express aggression, and that's something that they will tackle. Okay, they have very intense aggression. Okay, even though they choose to be good and they want to do right, but they still have to deal with that. And so this is the native. Okay, this is the native. They're going to see it coming up in relationships. And so this is when you look at Mars, and doing when the ruler of your seventh is ruled by Mars, or when Venus is ruled by Mars, or when Jupiter is ruled by Mars. Especially, you must do Mars to work with your Mars in order to have more equity in relationships, to assert yourself in relationships. Now the last thing, we look at the sun and the moon. So some people will say, for a man we look at the moon, for a woman we look at the sun. Okay, but in general I would look anyway at the sun and the moon. Why? Sun and moon are the caregivers of this person, and this is something that I really adopted from Yair Tribelsky, who is a self-taught, self-made astrologer, for many years in Israel. Is very famous, and he definitely teaches how to do this. And look at the sun and moon in the chart of every person. Why? Because it's the caregivers, it's the outlook, it's the eyes. And you know, I had a funny conversation with Yair. When I love to look at eclipses. I'm an eclipse child, and he looks at the sun and moon. I did not look at the sun and moon, okay, for charts of natives all that much in the context of relationships, because I would look more at Jupiter, at Venus, as I was listening to Ernst Wilhelm and then to Lada Doncheva, it's synastry stuff. But and for composite, the outer planets to inner planets, which is something I picked up by reading like the composite astrodeans by Lise Green, and I was like, oh my gosh, the real challenges are the outer to inner, and that's basically something that I developed, but I'm not the only one who's like, I'm not the only one who is aware of that. It's just I developed it by myself by looking at charts. So that was my own thing in astrology, right? It was my own thing. And so, yeah, I would look at the sun and moon as the mother father. Okay, today it's mother or single mother, single father. And I would look at eclipses, and it tells me, but what do you want, Shirley? What do you want with eclipses? It's the eyes. It's just the change of an outlook. And I'm like, come on, it's everything. It's you change the way you look at things. You know that you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Yes, it's an event that causes you to change your outlook of things. It's something so important. And he's like, you know. But he definitely taught me to look at the sun and moon. And what we look at the sun and moon, does the sun and the moon see each other? For here we have a sextile between the sun and the moon. Not only do we have a sextile, this is an out of bounds moon, okay? But not only do we have a sextile between the sun and moon, the moon here is in Cancer at home, and it means that this person grew up with people that whatever the conflicts were within them, they also saw each other, okay? They also had a lot in common, or they also had some sort of resilience, whether as a couple, that was just a source of security for this person's lives. And if the sun and the moon don't see each other, it means that it basically like the right eye and the left eye don't have something to agree on, okay? So for example, I may attract people who either have trine or sextile with sun and moon, okay, you would say preferably, or I can attract even people who don't have this, okay, don't have this. And so my sun and sextile moon kind of brings in something that that's a missing piece to them. To me, I see something clearly where they see one thing and they see another and they don't see the connection, okay? While favorably will bring more optimistic angles between Venus and Mercury and Pluto, okay? So for example, if a person comes with Venus trines Pluto, Venus sextiles Pluto, Mercury sextile Pluto, Mercury trine Pluto, I can learn how to communicate from them. I can heal my own internal gunk and learn how to communicate and learn how to be, you know, how to have partnership in an easier way, okay? I have to be conscious desire to attract this people into my life that have it easy where I don't seem to find the solution. Okay, that's important. Another thing that we look at the sun and moon is of the situation. Sun here is in Taurus, but the sun, while it sextiles the moon, it is separating from opposition to Saturn and applying to opposition to Mars. Okay, this means for a woman's chart that the man here basically her man, whoever will be in the the ex of her man, would be dealing with difficulty to their, first of all, it can be their neck, their voice. Uh, Actually, one of the men who tried to get very close to me but was unfortunately violating my boundaries. That was the Me Too case, unfortunately. Um, they had they had like a mark on the throat, and they had like a heart, like something, the scar around the heart, and also a scar in the head. So like they literally like barely survived. Um, so you see how intricate it is. Okay, they violated my boundaries, but it's not that I cannot see them as a human being. And so you can see that this is a chart of a person that attracts people that have when they are with this person, there is a danger that they would have to remedy the sun. Okay, they would have to remedy to make sure the throat is okay, to make sure um, um, yeah, to make sure the throat is okay, to make sure their sight is okay, and it would have to do with the voice in some sort of way. So they would have to learn to express themselves, or speak up, or yeah, something like that. Saturn can literally mean, and Sun is ruling the heart. So a heart stop, okay, a heart stop, like heart attack or something like this. Mars can actually mean an accident or something worse, like intended, like something like that. So this is something that immediately you see here. Okay, whoever will be the man in this situation has to deal with some stuff, right? And so it makes it for a person, let's say, maybe afraid, or bringing in a men who are afraid to be in connection with this native, because just something in them feels that while they may like this person, oh my God, there are all these deadly things that can happen to them. And the moon. Okay, so the sun does trine Jupiter. Then this Jupiter sextiles Saturn, but it applies to oppose Mars. And so the separating aspects from Saturn and Jupiter, and applying aspect with Mars. The applying aspect is the strongest aspect. Moon. And so Moon here is opposing Jupiter, and that can mean that this person, if it is, let's say, a man, then they attract something, that there's something between their belief, Jupiter, and their sense of safety. It's like they have certain beliefs that threaten their sense of safety. Okay, and that's an issue they would have to work at before they meet a partner, because that can mean, about caring, about caregiving, fearing to lose the belief somehow, like their beliefs around the connection or sense of safety is quite gloomy, so they will have to tend to that. So those are the things. For an extra thing we look at Juno, which is here. You don't see it in 20. Well, I can show you asteroids so you will see it. Juno here is right here with the IC and with Sappho. So this is actually, Juno is not too far from Sappho. Juno literally rules the spouse for a woman chart. For a man, I think if he's looking for women, it's more like the type of woman that he has, or the type of women he's attracted to, something like this. And so Juno here is, she's making this nice trine to Pluto. It means that when the partner for this native can mitigate the position with Pluto and Venus, and Pluto and Mercury. And the partner is very much positively transformed, or they find it easier to process the transformation that they have. This means that whoever this native is, their partner is going to go through transformation. Okay, it's a very transformative partner, even without, it doesn't have to be Sun or Venus in Scorpio. And there is a sextile between Juno and Mercury. So there's another mystic rectangle with the Pluto, Neptune, Mercury, and Juno. And this is actually good. Okay, it means that the ruler of the seventh and the spouse are in good harmony. Whatever that means, If some people have more than one, husband or wife. Mercury, Juno kind of means that communication is very important. They can facilitate easier communication. It's like they're a positive figure. Here they're a positive figure, but this Juno has opposition to Neptune. Okay? And so there can be a tendency to idealize. So if this is a woman, she can idealize the man, or the man can idealize her so much so that he's out of touch with reality, or they can try to save each other. Okay, the least green teaching about hard aspects with Neptune is the attempts to save each other. Okay, look at how many things I can see from one chart. Okay, so it doesn't matter if I came to somebody with a reading and I say, oh, I have a crush on this person. Do you think we could be together? Really, why would you waste 200 euros or 150 euros or $150 when the next day you're gonna bring another chart, okay? And the next day you're gonna bring another chart, and now all these people that you're trying to get to know, well, in fact, you're trying to get to know yourself, okay? So, and then there is follows here with Mercury, which kind of mean that this person can tend to have to get themselves into trouble, which I can attest is true. So, especially on a relational level. Lilith in the 12th house, in the 12th house Placidus, or first house here, does not denote of easy time. Like, this is a person for whom discernment seems, because Lilith is about the gut instinct, so discernment, acting on the gut instinct. And Pisces is very okay, this is a person who's very intuitive but can have a problem with discernment, with the gut instinct even, okay? And while there is a trine here to the moon and a trine to Saturn, this Lilith does square Uranus. So yeah, okay, since this person is ruled by Jupiter and a woman, so they would both have to fulfill their life meaning. It's very important to them. This is not a person who can be a stay-at-home mom. Not gonna work. And look where Jupiter is in the 11th. It's a public figure. And at the same time, it's kind of like they need to find a life meaning in order to be in a good relationship, and they need and their life meaning has to with something that's very Jupiterian, so that either can be very spiritual or whatnot, but love is actually important for them to be on their life path. This kind of bit of a, you try to find, you kind of need to find a way to be. So this is a very difficult chart for relationships, okay? If you are seeking an answer right now with Venus retrograde in Leo and have all these drama triangles, these whatnot. Oh, and another thing. So this was an example of like how to read into one chart and give this person concrete ideas of where they can go, what they can do. For this person, it's definitely about finding a source of spirit that's independent of a man, especially sort of belief or spirit, definitely to connect with nature or agriculture. In the past, it was also crystals. Those things can be very beneficial. it's definitely about learning how to communicate, and learning about communication. Expression is highly important, and also for their partner to be able to express themselves is very important, literally for their life, like to save their heart. um, and it is the Mars here is a big issue. Okay, Mars here is a big issue because it's on the 22nd degree. It's kind of like and retrograde. So um, yeah, what I would say to this person, maybe support veterans. Maybe they are themselves a veteran in some way, shape, or form. I am. Um, and yeah, kind of like that, because Pluto and Neptune are connected here. So art is very important, whether it's art or poetry or music, very important. And look where Neptune is, next to the midheaven. This person must be an art, okay, or there will be a Hitler. Okay, like there not be a Hitler because Mars here is not, Mars will not act out on bad things, and it is very important. Okay, it's very important because Mars isn't wanting to do good for humanity. Yeah, this is a chart that could easily be many things, but Mars here is saving the day. It's only gonna act on the good instinct, which is important. But the thing is that, let's say for this person, they really must be expressing themselves artistically, um, and yeah, and so those are things that I would say to such a person. It's really important for them to understand that certain types of losses, whether to their life meaning or their relationships, are actually gains. Okay, so while they can experience loss in their life or loss of a relationship or whatnot, um, the their you know my Me Too bestie actually had a father who was Taurian, and he died, and he said he was married to the army before he was married to his wife, and she is still working with the disc that he had, the metal disc that he had, and she's Me Too veteran. So for this chart, they are married to something that is not the husband or the wife. Okay, they are married first to a certain life goal, and even though this life goal changes and this path changes, they are married to that, and nobody can require this person to be husband first. Okay, it's whether it's God first or spirit first or the goal first, and even though it's important for them to have love in the heart to pursue justice, it's also important for them that something, it's very important for them for something not to sway them from the path that they consider just. Mars here is very strong, but look where Mars is in Jupiter Decan. Okay, it's very important for them that the partner will facilitate a right path. If the partner sways them out of justice or what they think is right, then either they will lose the partner or the partner will lose them. This is this chart. Okay, and so they can have a sense of loss, especially around those things. That's a chart. What I wanted to say about relationship drama, or the drama triangle, which is kind of like both an on topic and an off topic, but it's something I wanted to say for a while. Oh, it's Saturn's hour now. So, of course, doom and gloom with Saturn and the ascendant. The drama triangle. And the drama triangle, basically, I started this video with, there was somebody that was writing in the groups like, hey, there is this man, there's woman number one, woman number two, who fits him the most? And I don't know if she was one of the women, if she got this as a reading or whatnot. But the thing is, with the drama triangle, a lot of people are gonna get caught in those drama triangles now because it's drama time, okay? It's Venus in Leo. And what I have to say to you, okay? How does Jordan do it? Come real close now. What I have to say to you is so. If you are in a situation of a drama triangle, you had a crush over a person, man, woman. This person not single. What you need, or even married. What you need to understand, the person that you are meeting, let's say they have someone, or they're seeing someone, maybe officially, maybe not officially, I don't know. The person that you are dating is the person that is already receiving the value from this person that they are with. Okay? Big importance to understand that. This is a teaching from non-monogamy community. Something that I always knew like intuitively, but it's something that other people don't have it. I don't know why I know it intuitively, but other people don't have it intuitively. And when people get into a drama triangle, they want to have the boy, to have the girl that is right now married or in a relationship or seeing someone. And what I have to say to you, the person that you're in love with is not only the person that you're in love with, it's also the people that they are with. This is why for non-monogamy community, the metamor, which is the lover of your lover, is an asset. Okay? They are part of what comprises the person that you're in love with. If you take your loved one out of the support system, the nourishment system, everything that they get from their current partner, girlfriend, person that they're just seeing unofficially, you get them. Now you have to fill in the roles that you didn't assign for when you met this person. Okay? And if I can give you, if you are in a drama triangle, if I can give you one good advice, if you can't love them both, okay, or more, I don't know, if if you're not going to enter a non-monogamous web of relations, then understand what is it you're like, what do you like about this person? Say, God, get me that in available, get not available as somebody who has really, get me that in single, but act like this, but in single, okay? And this is so important because once this person, let's say you manage to get the breakup, okay? Once this person is separating from the person or the people that they are with, now you get them clear and simple. Now all the needs that they have that are fulfilled in those relationships, now it's your job. Yeah, it's highly unlikely that you signed up for this job to begin with. And another teaching, and this is Lada Duncheva teaching. I said it once with the moon. Now I'm going to say it again because we are at this time. We're at this drama time. I enjoy once in a blue moon. I enjoy giving these relationship preaches. I enjoy at least the drama of relationship. Well, I can't have a relationship myself. I enjoy the drama of relationships and the learning and the experience and whatnot. But the thing is, one of the signs with the moons of people. Okay, so let's say go back to my chart, to the concrete case of relations innovation needed galore. So let's see, this moon is in Cancer, right? Now, if I don't work on my moon and I don't allow myself to receive, where will the moons of the partners I attract be? And I can tell you, I had someone who was never my boyfriend, but was a good friend, and I felt like he was my little brother. He was indeed younger than me. He had moon in Scorpio. I have moon in Taurus. So I felt like I'm his big sister. Okay, we also had age gap. I'm his big sister. And of course, he liked the fact that I cared for him, that I was there for him, and he was also there for me too. But he couldn't be there for me in this way. Like, it was too much for him. Why? My moon is where his moon. The distance, and this is Lada teaching, the distance from the Cancer moon to the Scorpio moon is smaller than the distance between the Scorpio moon to the Cancer moon. And the energy is always going to go in the path of least resistance. Okay, no, Abraham Hicks, the path of least resistance. So the energy would go from me to him. And so when I was young, I didn't think relationship, I didn't think boyfriend. There was this younger person, and of course it gave me meaning in my life to be like his bigger sister. But then I grew up, and then I learned how to slowly go and receive. Okay, to stop being the caregiver for everyone and focus on myself, focus being receptive. Okay, and yes, this person also cared for me, and yeah, it's not there's always reciprocity, but there's also Lada calls this parameter respect. Okay, and as I started caring for my moon, the people or the energies or the charts of the people or beings that I would attract or that I would be more drawn to was no longer me looking at that person as like, oh, I want to give to this person. And before I even thought about them, and this is very helpful whether you are a man or a woman, is moon work, wherever you moon it. And I learned how to receive, how to care for my little, for me little. And I started caring for me little and doing things that I enjoy and hugging myself, like I got stuffy, and then I began to look for like what I wanted, what I began to manifest. This energy is coming to me, okay, that is providing, that is caring, that is kind of that I feel safe with, that is like the Umarmung, okay, the hug, like being hugged by someone, feeling natural to be with someone, feel natural to receive. Somebody that also caters to my needs, especially with Mooni's needs, his emotional needs, that I feel emotionally safe with. Okay, I began to be very drawn, if anything, very drawn to what makes me safe. And so, even on the partial thing is, I began to draw in people that the moon became closer and closer to my moon. And so in here, let's say a person has a moon, even in Pisces. Okay, it means that the person is coming towards me to give me, to provide for me. Okay, of course you need to look at other factors. Like I said, this chart has things to solve. But suddenly they would have like moon in Pisces or moon in Aries, okay? Or even moon in Gemini, okay, which is right here, is right behind me, right next to me. And that is another parameter that Lada Duncheva calls respect. So this is also something you can look at, because when you're doing a good work with the moon, and it takes time, okay, it can take time, then you're going to notice that if you are the type of person who naturally wants to provide, who, when you fantasize about your other significant other, you fantasize about somebody wrapped in your arms, okay? When your wildest fantasy about relationship, do you fantasize about somebody wrapped in your arms? Or do you fantasize about somebody wrapping their hands around you? You gotta be very honest with yourself. And this is a tip I got also in, it's actually a paraphrase on a tip I got actually regarding sexual relations when I was working for sexual education. And the guide kind of said, will you listen up when they talk about feminine, masculine? Will you listen up? In your fantasy, are you kind of drawn to decide, to guide, to this, to that, or you're kind of drawn to go with the flow or to go with the other person. Okay? With the moon, is very simple exercise that I can give you. You think about relationship. Do you think about you holding someone in your arms and having this someone nested, well rested in your arms, okay? Or do you think about you being well rested in somebody's arms? So now, and however tomboy I am, okay, if I think what's the dominant desire for me in relationships that also kind of make me look for men who can honor my two genders, but kind of like what I want to feel like is to be hugged and held and to rest in somebody's arms more so than, of course, I like to hold people and so, but, what is the deep desire is like, I want to be rested in somebody's arms, okay? I want to be like, the little cat that exposes their belly for rubs. That that's pretty much who I am. That's pretty much who I am in relationships. So, however tomboy I am, however a man I can get, this is when it gets down to the moon. This is what makes me feel safe. This is what I want. And when I know that, when I'm okay with that, when I understand that, when I manifest for that, then the moons of the people that are next to me just start getting closer and closer to my moon. And the distance become closer and closer. So that's a tip I can give you. Because if you are in the wrong moon relations, either you're going to feel like, oh, this is like my little sister, my little brother, or I care for this person, but I'm not in love with this person. Okay? And that's also moon stuff. It's like I care for this person, but I don't feel safe with this person. I feel like I have to cater to their safety rather than them catering to mine. Okay? And that is like we all deserve to feel safe in our relationships, as well as like, or for somebody who's like the provider of safety. It's like I want someone who I feel safe. I want someone who feels safe with me, someone who relaxes into me. And here is kind of like, I want to feel someone I can relax into. And there's always a reciprocity, but if you think like, what's my dominant tendency, then you're gonna answer that, and you're gonna understand the distance from the moons that you have, and respect. This is the parameter, respect. Because what happens when we don't cater to our needs and we're not honest with ourselves about what we want, about what we need to feel safe, what happens is that we feel disrespected. Or that we categorize this relationship in some way where it's okay. Okay, like I had a very good friend that had a moon in Scorpio, and I consider him like my little brother. Okay, like a good friend, but like my little brother. And so it's okay that I'm the one who's caring for the safety of her little brother. But if I had to see him as like an equal partner, I say I feel disrespected, which I don't. Like, it was not the category of the relationship. And I never expected that from him. So that is what happens. Either you become in the friend zone of somebody where you should actually be looking for something else. This can also be that you found someone who caters to your moon in the way that you desire, but they're actually looking for something different. I can't really tell you, you can say, oh, if the moon is young, if the moon is yin, if the moon is this. No. Lada herself has a moon in Leo, which is young, and I think her husband has a moon in Aries. Okay? So, she still needed his moon to come to her. And also I can't say that this is a man-woman thing because relationship is more complicated than that. So it's just about answering this question. Do you like to relax into somebody's arms, or do you imagine someone nestled in your arms? What is more like it for you? And that needs to be compatible with both people. And this can solve so many relationship issues. It's like if I had to teach you one thing about relationships, that would be the moon thing, because um, this will just solve so many relationships. So many issues that people have with relationships because they feel disrespected. They feel that they have to chase for someone where, like, you don't have, like, where they did not sign up for this role and they don't want this role, or they feel that someone is not relaxing into them, where they all they want is for someone to relax into them, or somebody is relaxing into them but they reject it because they want to be the one who's relaxing into somebody else. And that can create tremendous heartbreak and grief and like all kinds of unnecessary stuff that you can really avoid when you apply this simple trick. In general, when you start looking at charts, the only thing to do, the only reason to do that is not to do profiling. Okay, you're not profiling. You're not, is he a this, is he a that, is she a this, is she a crazy woman, is he a crazy man? It's like, I don't know, dude. Okay, you look at your chart, you tend to, you like, clean up your room kind of thing, like you clean your own room, you tend to your chart and you understand what is it that you need. And if the other person is not applying to that, is because you have a chart here. Okay, if the wind is blowing a certain way right now, I can't get her to blow the other way. The wind will do what the wind will do, but you can't get her to blow the other way. You can't get the relationship to blow the other way. What you can, however, is set intention. Set intention. Say, I want someone that the energy, that the moon comes to me, that their moon comes to me, and I want someone that wants a partner that relaxes into his arms. Okay, that likes it, that enjoys it, and I genuinely am safe with, and genuinely feel safe with, and he genuinely likes it when I just relax into his arms and enjoying him. Okay, this is for me. For you, it may be like the provider of that. Um, and and then whatever things you have to deal with in your with your the ruler of your seven, Juno, Jupiter, Venus, Mars to some degree, the sun and moon, you see that's a lifelong thing, because relationships are a lifelong thing. And the more you attend to that, the more safe you're gonna feel. So more first, right? The more safe you're gonna feel, because especially like with the moon, like I guess so many cases where a person is doing the chasing when they shouldn't be, and that can very much be reduced to this moon thingy. It's like either the other person's moon is coming like closer to them and the energy is coming through, but then the question is, does the other person likes it this way? And this thing gets people into love triangles. Okay, this thing really does get people into love triangles, because let's say it's back to two women and a man. Okay, back to where we started. Okay, so let's say men have like moon. Woman number one has moon in Virgo. Okay? Woman number two has moon in Taurus. Okay, and so this man is let's say he's married to this girl with his moon with the moon in Taurus. So now what? Let's say moon in Aries. So you want to say moon in Taurus is exalted. Moon in Aries, fine. Moon in Aries. He's dating this woman with moon in Aries, or he is married to this woman in Aries. Then comes a woman with the moon in Virgo. Okay. The lady with the moon in Aries, or even if she had moon in Taurus, it's like exalted moon. She feels that her man, she has to please him, just to cater for him, just to care for him. She's like his mother. And that lady with the moon in Virgo, she finds out about her, she just gets all the hugs and the words and the roses, and it's like, what the fuck is this woman doing? Nothing. She's not better than you, she's not worse than you, she doesn't have any relationship skills that you don't have. It's nothing. She has her moon in a certain position where your man cares to her. Okay? But what can happen if you are the woman with the moon in Virgo? Okay, so this man is bringing me all the attention that I want. All I want is now to see to make the next step. Okay, like this goes. Does he make the next step? Or should I be fighting for this? See, if he makes the next step, he is separated from someone who cares for him, who caters for him, who cooks for him, who did everything for him. Okay? They're gonna care for you. But does this person want this position of the caregiver? Okay? Does he want to be your caregiver? Or is he just compelled to do so because of your moon position? And he's gonna need someone who's going to care for him in this way. Right? Because he wants this. Okay? Because if not, first of all, he's going to sleep with his wife and then he's going to sleep with another woman. Or she is going to do the same. Doesn't matter. He, she, they, the same thing. Or just people. It's not. Or the other thing that's going to happen is that he's going to expect you to do these things. And then he's going to feel disrespect that when you don't cook for him like his ex-wife, is disrespect. Okay? And that, or she is going to feel this way. And this is what happened with the love triangle. Somebody is with someone, or seeing someone, or is with someone, secretly, not secretly, and you come as the third party, you came into a web of connection. So either you're going to find your way in your web of connections, which is non-monogamy works. You know, in non-monogamy, you can say, okay, this man likes for someone to care for him, and for him to be more like the hugging to somebody else. And that person that cares for him, she has another man, or he has another man or woman. And for me, my job in this position is like I like to get cuddles, rub my belly. Okay, so my job in this position is rub my belly. And so if you can be in this position, you can say, I appreciate that this person is being cared for, being cared for, and so I get the person who loves my belly, and I'm okay with the entire web of love. Good. This is what non-monogamous people do. But if you are in a love triangle and you say, oh, all I need is for them to take it to the next level. She will leave her man, she will leave his woman, she will leave his man, she will leave his man. Okay, they may do this, but then they would expect you to share, to feel in two people. Okay? You can see it with the moon. Does this person, if this person needs someone to care for him and for him to care for someone, but it's not the same someone. Right? Also, you see it in skin communities where there are doms and subs, and so a lot of people who are only doms, okay? Let's say they have a submissive, and so the submissive, now we're getting really real, really drama, relationship stuff. And so the submissive, for many people who are submissive with one dominant person, eventually they talk to their dom and they say, you know what, I like to be submissive to you, I would want to stay be submissive to you, but I also need a submissive for me where I'm the dom. Many relationships, long term, it happens, okay? So what can we do about this? maybe we can be more non-monogamous. Some people will say, okay, I can be non-monogamous, so I will be the caregiver for one, and I will have a caregiver in another. And we all must appreciate our web of connections and understand what is our need in our web of connections. If we are true to our need in our web of connections, and then it's kind of like the pieces of the puzzle coming together and it's living in actually quite harmony. Okay, because everybody understands what is the role of the other person is bringing, and you see that more than two can live well, more than two can actually have blooming relations, as long as everybody's cared for, it, everybody's tended to. Another thing that can happen is this love triangle drama, which is Venus retrograde in Leo, or you have really dominant thingy where I don't like to care for people in a romantic way, like a provider. I kind of like to be cared for. And if you're monogamous, you're going to find someone who's really in the mood to do this monogamously, and that happens too. Okay? That happens too. Right? And so you get, like, I don't have all the answers, but that can really lead to a certain breakthrough in the certain type of thought. And then your way, if you're just caught up in a certain like drama weirdy thingy, would be, okay, I understand that I need someone to care for me in this way. Let's say you're monogamous, so you say, okay, I understand that I need someone who wants to be in this role and wants to be in this role with one partner. And you look for this person. The minute you set your intention, it's like an arrow. You shoot the arrow, and you will see. You will meet people that fit this condition that you set. Okay? If it genuinely is what you want. So that was my relationship drama. Now let's see what the current planet, what is going on. And I want to do, let me see it. No, I don't do anything. I'll just publish. No, I'll wait for Jupiter. Should I wait for Jupiter? Because it's Saturn, our Mercury day. The midheaven is with the moon, like next to my ascendant. But then it's going to be on Mars. With Mars in the 6th. I don't know. I publish now. You know what? I'll do another example with you. I'll take this particular chart and let's analyze this chart together. So the ruler of the 7th here, oh, this is also Pisces ascendant. So the ruler of the 7th is Mercury, with Mercury in the 7th. This Mercury is applying to oppose Saturn. This already means that for this person, they may have, if a person is born with this chart, it puts a Saturn stamp on the relationship. Kind of mean that, you know, Saturn returns in 28, it matures at 36. They will have to wait for, let's say, Saturn transits are going to affect this relationship a lot. Or there can be age difference, stuff like that. Mars is in the 7th house, so there can be conflicts, fights, or stuff that they do together. If they do stuff together, that can be a good remedy for that. Jupiter is in the 3rd house here. Trine in this Mars. Okay, so Jupiter in Taurus, trine in this Mars, and not really squaring. The Sun is applying to square this Jupiter. That kind of brings an emphasis on whether material wealth, sensuality, or there's a philosophy of wealth, of beauty, of art that's very much involved. It can be someone that is brotherly or sisterly like. And Venus is retrograde. So for this chart, Venus is retrograde in the 6th house. There can be a real difficulty where, let's say you're a man, then there can be some acts of service in a relationship, but because Venus is retrograde, it kind of means that maybe later in life when your progressed Venus becomes direct, then you can have more breakthroughs. But this can actually, with the sixth house, it can be a servant, okay? Some type of submissive that is serving, or that you may desire to be a servant, or that the other person may desire that, but you have to make sure that it's really what you want, because there can be like you're pushed into it and you're not, like, you're feeling like you're serving, but you're not really sure if that's moon here does not see the sun. So the moon is in Sagittarius and the sun is in Leo, but the moon and the sun do not see each other. If this is a person, they may attract a person where the moon does see the sun. And it's important for the moon and the sun of the partner to see each other in a complementary way, in a harmonic way. Okay? So you may draw these conflicting thingies that you can't resolve because your moon and sun don't see each other. So don't try to resolve moon and sun problems for people. What else with this moon? It trines Venus, and applies to trine Mercury. Okay, so emotional safety for you means freedom. Okay. Yeah, I can't see June. If you have a Freud, we don't have a Freud for this one. So that is another example of a chart. Okay, ruler of the seventh in the seventh. Mercury in Virgo is actually strong, but it opposes Saturn. So there can actually be difficulty with communication in such relations. So yeah, what about, okay, I'm going to still publish it, whatever.